To see you. Okay, you guys, we're at the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get our party started. Again, thank you all so very much for joining us on our February ILCA 5-day challenge. My name is your Queen Connectress, Miss Marnita Casa, and I'm going to be your humble hostess for this evening. Now, it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce you all to a man that for over 25 years dominated the direct sales industry. His cryptocurrency education is being used by companies and universities worldwide. Now, for over 6 years, he dedicated his life to learning about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, but he didn't just stop there. He decided to go out, share his information with the masses, and he did this by putting on fun and exciting Bitcoin boot camps nationwide at no cost. He has built wonderful communities and thriving platforms like you see before you now. So without further ado, it is my honor to introduce you all to Mr. Brandon Ivey.
All right, all right, all right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Monday or 5-day challenge. About to say crypto talk. This is our 5-day challenge. This is my favorite time of the month. We do this once a month, and as Miss Costa said, and thank you, Miss Costa, for that introduction. We are in honor of Black History Month. This is going to be themed with Morehouse alumni panelists tonight or all week. Now I got to make sure they actually show up, but we got them scheduled all week. So welcome, 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 you guys. And there's been a lot happening in the crypto space. This is our second 5-day challenge of 2024. Wow, man, 2024. Time is going by so fast. And things like the older I get, the faster time is moving. We're almost getting to the end of the first quarter for 2024. But this is what I call a pivotal year. And what do I mean by that? I mean, in so many aspects, from the physical to the spiritual to the political to the financial, there's a lot of things taking place this year, and there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt for a lot of people of the unknown, the unexpected. What is our future going to look like? And I'm a student of Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn stated that you know, you must build a financial wall around your house so high that nothing can penetrate. Nothing can penetrate. So it doesn't matter what's going on in the world, especially things that you cannot control. And we have things that happen in all of our lives that is out of our control. And we worry about it. You sulk about it. And there's nothing you can do about that. But what you can do is take charge in how you respond to the things that's happening in your life and plan. I always say expect the best, but plan for the worst. And I'm always planning for the worst. Even in the best of scenarios, I'm always got a backup plan to a backup plan to a backup plan, because you never know. And I also learned that especially when you're self-employed and for millionaires out there, there's always something that goes not according to plan. In fact, it almost never goes exactly according to plan. And one of the things that I stumbled upon back in 2017, well, actually, we go back to this day when I was at Morehouse College. I learned that what I was being taught to have success in America was a theory, and that in practice, it has never fulfilled its promise. Maybe for a percentage of the baby boomers, but even they're feeling it now. And that old mantra of, if you want to have financial freedom in America, you got to go to school, get good grades, and get a good, safe, secure job, a job that will take care of you for the rest of your life. And speaking for Black History Month, for a large part of American history, African Americans were not allowed to seek higher education. And the only way we got higher education, if we were able to finish high school, was through HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. Those came out of necessity, not out of desire. African Americans wanted to go to school with everybody else. It just wasn't allowed. Morehouse College came about, Howard University, FAMU. I'm not going to name all of them. My grandmother, she went to Grambling. Her siblings went to Southern, and she taught and instilled in her children that getting an education was more about the fact that we were not allowed to have it than is it going to actually give us a better life in theory. But by the time it came my turn, I was hearing what my parents were saying, but I was also looking at reality. And it really didn't have anything to do with color because everybody was going through this. That it is economically foolhardy to actually encourage your children to get a college degree to have a better financial future. Because in reality, your child is probably going into debt to get that degree. They're going to graduate in a world where they weren't prepared for because college isn't teaching about the new financial system. And they're in debt. That's going to take them another 30 years to pay off. To look for jobs that is not going to give them a full-time income, at least on one salary. But at least you feel good that you got that college degree, right? Because you might be the first in your family to get it. So in our family, it's a necessity. So even my boys, my oldest son graduated from Azusa Pacific University. My youngest son is a junior in high school. He's going to college. He's got a 4.1 GPA, but not so that they can be in a position to get a better job. It's so that they can learn how to think, critical thinking skills, networking opportunities, the ability to be in an environment of other like-minded individuals that have a higher degree and opportunity of success later in life. That's why. So I'm not saying college is not good. I'm saying understand the reasonings why and make sure that your child learns a skill set that there's going to be able to be used whether they graduate from college or not, and learn financial goals and opportunities so that they are not in debt for the rest of their life just trying to pay that off. See, my parents' generation, their biggest debt was their home, and they spent their whole life paying off their home. But Generation X and beyond, not only are they looking to get a home and have that debt, but also just college debt on top of that and not earning enough money to even pay that. So in 2017, in my search for financial freedom, and I had already achieved it, this year marks my 13th year. Yeah, my 13th or 13th year of financial freedom, of walking off my job, firing my boss. Yeah, I turned 48 this year. I was 36 when I did that. So 12 years. And I've never looked back. But I also had also to reinvent myself. I've also had to stay ahead of the trends, watch what's going on. You can't stay stagnant. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, nor expect things never to change. So I've always been open to see, okay, what else is out there? What's hot? What's happening? And there's this thing called crypto, Bitcoin. And a lot of you, especially if you're brand new, and especially this year, because you're going to hear about it more now than ever before. My dad called me earlier tonight and he said, Did you hear? I said, hear what? He said, I guess this whole crypto thing is real. I said, why? He said, because Donald Trump just said that, it seems to be catching on. I said, wait a second. I've been living off of this for the last 7 years. You see me. But because Donald Trump's saying it now it's real to you. But that's how most Americans are going to be now. It's now going to be not dismissed. It's going to be on the radar screen. This is not something we can avoid. This is here to stay. It's already been here for 15 years. I figured it out in 2017. I first learned about it in 2010 and did absolutely nothing. Came across my screen again in 2012. I did absolutely nothing. Came across my screen in 2016 because Bitcoin went from $100, $200 a coin up to those 400, about 400 something dollars a coin. And I said, you know what? I need to get some of this. And a friend of mine said, yeah, you buy some of this. I bought 3 Bitcoin for like 400 something dollars. And that was October, no, end of September, beginning of October 2016. I forgot I even had it. 3 months later, going into December, as an entrepreneur, it may not be for you, but I know for me, is this the months of December, the November, December, and January are always the toughest months for me in as a home-based business. So I always work to make sure I have enough money to sustain during those months before things kick off again for the springtime. And that year was extremely tough. And I was like, yeah, I need extra money. And Christmas come up. I got 2 birthdays that month as well, taxes. And so I said, wait a minute, I got these Bitcoin, and Bitcoin got up to 840 something dollars a coin. Yeah, I bought it. No, I bought it for 640 and it got to $840 a coin. I sold my 3 Bitcoin for Christmas presents. And I thought I hit the lottery on that. I'm like, wow, I don't know nothing about this. And I made money off of this. 1 year later, exactly December 2017, Bitcoin got to $20,000 a coin. I had my hand on 3 of them. Today, those 3 Bitcoin will be worth more than $170,000 a coin. Those 3 Bitcoin. And we're still on the low end of where Bitcoin is going to go. I learned in 2017 that blockchain technology, the technology that is making this possible, Bitcoin just hit 57K. That's the highest it's been in 2 years. I learned in 2017 that blockchain technology is going to disrupt every single industry on the planet today. Whether you like it or not, believe it or not, trust it or not, our opinion of this is irrelevant. I figured that out. And then the second thing that I learned is that what Bill Gates said in 2014, and I remember him saying this, he said, Bitcoin is freedom. I didn't understand what he meant when he said that. But in 2017, I realized that Bitcoin cryptocurrency represents the greatest economic shift in wealth in the history of mankind for the most amount of people. Now, there have been shifts in wealth in history before, since the beginning of time. But those shifts have not been accessible to everybody. You had to be born in the right family, speak the right language, have the right bloodline. But now, there's only 3 things you need to participate in this fourth industrial revolution. You need to have access to a cell phone, which everybody does. I can go down Skid Row, down downtown LA, the homeless at nighttime, and you see LED lights lit up in the tents, on the streets, even where there's no street lights. Because even the homeless have access to some form of cell phones. Everybody has a cell phone. Even children do. It's their babysitter. Kids that can't even talk yet know how to swipe. That's their entertainment. Access to a cell phone, access to the internet, which in the near future will be universal. You won't be paying for internet. It'll be like air we breathe, a right to have across the globe. And then the third thing is the easiest, but also the most difficult at the same time. And it's a willingness to learn. It is this. Do you have this? The willingness to learn. And that's the most difficult. In a world where we're told that cash is king, the dollar is everything, that Bitcoin and crypto is a scam and blah, blah. This is what college gives you, that critical thinking to challenge that. One thing that I've learned especially when I went to London and I went to the London Museum in downtown, and they have an entire wing wall that's covering the history of money. And Britain would know because at one point, sun didn't set on their empire, and they were able to collect data and information and artifacts from every culture on the planet and bring it back to the UK. And they have it all up on display from the very first form of money from cowrie shells, seashells, and that stuff, precious rocks. And on the wall, you fast forward all the way to the end. And do you know what they had on the wall at the end? They had this, because this is where I got it from. It's a B for Bitcoin. On the back of it is the Queen. Now, this is a representation of Bitcoin. Before this, you know what they had on the wall? What's a cell phone? Before the cell phone they had on the wall, well, I don't have was a credit card, one of your credit cards. Before that, they had checks. Over history, money has always changed. That is one thing that is consistent. Money will change. This dollar, hasn't always been here. It's relatively new in America. And so when I realized that, and that all you need to do is have a cell phone, access to the internet, and a willingness to learn, where it doesn't matter your language, your skin color, your race, your education, where you live, your politics, your religion, none of that matters. Then Bill Gates was right. Bitcoin is freedom because with Bitcoin, there's no barrier of entry. There's no discrimination. There's nothing to hold you back. There's nobody telling you you can't do it. You have the opportunity to. It's based on math, your ability to take action. And then I walked out on the street, out of a building one day, and I felt like I was in the Matrix. So I was seeing everybody walking down the streets and driving, and I'm like, 99% of these people don't know anything about Bitcoin or crypto. Yet they are struggling every day to pay their bills, to go about their lives, living paycheck to paycheck, hoping that they win the lottery or that their children become a professional athlete or a singer that can take care of them. Yet the answer to their prayers is right here. God didn't send Bitcoin, okay? But the opportunity that you can use it to change your family tree is here. And I said, okay, what can I do to spread the word? It's one thing I make it myself, but what about the rest of my family? What about my friends? What about our community? What about the people? They need to know about this. So I began to try and attempt in my best if I can to teach it. I started doing crypto talks. I was doing 2 to 3 crypto talks a day back in those early days for free. Started doing Bitcoin boot camps for free. How do you think I met Melanie Davis? Melanie Davis was at the very first Bitcoin boot camp I did in 2018 in Chicago, Illinois. I don't know if anybody else on here is there. I think Jacqueline Briggs might have been there too. I know she was at least one of them. Jacqueline was. So I started traveling the country and doing Bitcoin boot camps. So I met Gina Mohammed. We did a Bitcoin boot camp in Philadelphia. Who was in Seattle? I did one in Seattle. So that was before COVID. COVID hit and that stopped all the traveling. So I started to consult for different companies in the crypto space, and I saw another problem that came in this space. People's first introduction to Bitcoin came because of opportunities. You were on Facebook or social media, and a friend of yours started posting about ways to make extra money in these Bitcoin programs. And that's your first time ever getting in Bitcoin. But you didn't know the basics. And most people lost money during those days, then made money. Me, there was nobody to teach me about Bitcoin and crypto. I spent 6 months teaching myself. And in those 6 months, I learned something because I went to YouTube. He said, Brandon, why do I need your courses? I'll just go to YouTube. Well, good luck with that. I did that. He said, well, you turned out right. I said, did I? I realized that 50% of the information that I was receiving was incorrect. I lost no money during that time because I didn't know what I was doing or what was going on, but I was testing. I was trying to figure it out. But then after I figured it out and I was ready to get started in August, September 2017, I didn't have a lot of money. In fact, I almost had to get a job and I had $30 that I could use. $30. And I flipped that $30 into six figures in 3.5 months. A little bit of luck because that's the same period when Bitcoin got to 20,000 a coin, but also my education. And what separated me, because there's a lot of people during that time that also made a lot of money during that same era that did not have the crypto education. They were getting lucky. When Bitcoin turned and went the other way at the beginning of 2018, I made more money when the market was going down than when it was going up. That's what separated me from everybody else. And the first company that asked if I could create crypto education courses for them was KGX, Cryptogenics, at that time. And I've been consulting ever since. But when you let others take control of your education, your content, they don't always use it or do it the way it should be used or done. So I said, you know what? If I want this done right, I got to do it myself. And that's where ILCA was born 2 years ago. And we created ILCA, and we wanted to create not just the education material that you just watch a video, but a community that people can come together, regardless of your background and how much you know, to learn this. Because it's not about race, it's about class, it's about opportunity. And we all want the same thing, to better ourselves. But to do that, you need education. I realized 4 rules in my crypto education that I will share right now. The 4 rules. Rule number 1, education is key. Education is everything. Rule number 2, never invest money you cannot afford to lose. Don't get caught up in the hype. Rule number 3, always get your money back as fast as possible. The name of the game is profit, period. Some people want to hold forever. No, that's not the point. You want to make a profit. And rule number 4, where do you see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? What are your short-term or your long-term goals? What are you willing to do to make that happen? Find a vehicle and then take action, or vehicles. Be diversified and take action. Don't get distracted. One of the traps in this industry is that since blockchain technology is going to disrupt every industry, that means there's endless opportunities out there. You can't be a part of everything. I can't be a part of everything. I might want to, but you've got limited resources. So people say, well, Brandon, with multiple streams of income, don't millionaires have multiple streams? Yeah, but they get one stream first before they add the second. And then they secure that stream, and then they add another one, and then they add another one. So sometimes that means saying no to good opportunities. I've done that many times. And the people who are bringing it to me don't understand. And they want to, I got to show, remind me, Marnita, I got to show you a conversation just last week of a gentleman that when I told him I'm not interested, the conversation should be done right there. I'm not interested. Oh, no. What do you mean you're not interested? Did you look at the videos I sent you? There's no way you can look at the videos and still say no. I said, yes, I looked at the videos. I didn't say it's a bad opportunity. I said at this time, I'm not interested. There's things I'm doing. Well, I think we need to get on the phone, and I can put you on the phone with the CEO. I'm going to say it one more time. I'm not interested at this time. Respect that. Really, what you should be saying to yourself is, if this opportunity is so great and he's still saying no, what is he doing to afford him the ability to say no to what I think is a great opportunity? Maybe I need to find out what you're doing. and what you got going on. Now, he didn't think like that. But finally he relented before I really started to curse him out because I understand he's hungry. He's trying to make money for him and his family. And he figures, man, if I get Brandon on my team, it's game over. If I could just convince them, you can't convince people to do anything. You can show them an opportunity, and it's up to them to make the decision to take it or not. And then you move on, whether they say yes or they say no. You don't own anybody. This is not my community. This is our community. That's what ILCA is all about. So tonight, what we're going to do is for you beginners and for those of you who are veterans who've been with ILCA for 2 years, we're going to do the very first course. I always talk about how do cryptocurrencies work. You might have seen this before, but I guarantee you, something is going to click that didn't click before because that's just how things work. You're not the same person last time you saw this lesson. There's been new experiences. We got to go back to the basics because Bitcoin halving is coming. It's almost like a reset. And you may not say, well, what is Bitcoin halving? Well, guess what? Next month, I'm going to be covering the next 5-day challenge will be 5 courses all on the Bitcoin halving, all the days. I think I still got to do well, I'll see. Maybe night 1, I still got to do the basics, but we'll see. But it's going to be all about the Bitcoin halving because it's coming up and people don't understand what it means. And we got BlackRock in right now buying up all the crypto. Soon there's going to be what's called a Bitcoin shortage. It's going to be hard to get Bitcoin and the price is going to go astronomical. We haven't gotten there yet, but it's coming. So thank you for guys listening to my intro, and let me go ahead and share screen and bring up. There we go. So let me get this set up. Slideshow. So congratulations for even taking time out of your schedule to be here tonight. There's so many other things you could be doing with your time, and I appreciate that. So you want to give you guys a pat on the back. That's half the battle, showing up. You know, most people only have a 5-minute attention span and they want to watch something on TV. Share screen. All right, so how do cryptocurrencies even work? Let's get this over here. And I am streaming on all the Facebook groups. So welcome those of you who are on the other Facebook groups. You might see the people on Zoom. The people you see on Zoom are our VIP members. What is that? Well, at the end of this lesson, I will stop the live stream and the VIP members are able to stay and ask questions. Q&A time. And in my experience in the past, that is when most of the learning has taken place during the Q&A, a lot of the aha moments. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. So as I go through this, if you've got any question, write it down and bring it up later. And even if you think, well, I don't know if I want to ask it, think somebody else is probably thinking it, but they're too scared to ask. This is a safe environment. There's no place for stupid questions. But the VIP members, to be a VIP member is a one-time cost of $97 for the entire year, which means every time we do the 5-day challenge, you're a VIP for the rest of the year. So how do cryptocurrencies work? Well, when I first heard of crypto, I thought it was monopoly money. Seriously. My first glimpse of it, 2010, I was watching E3 TV, I think that was called, or G4 TV. It was a nerd computer gaming TV show. And they were always talking about the latest technology, gaming, it wasn't called, MMOs and all that kind of stuff. And I was watching it late at night, it was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And they were interviewing this one gamer, ultimate gamer dude, and they were at his house and they was showing off his new rig that he built. But then the interviewer said, well, what about those pieces? What do you do with your old PCs? Do you get rid of it? He says, no, I don't throw any of my old stuff away because even if you wipe a computer, there's still data on it that can still be recovered from the smartest technicians. So he said, I don't throw anything away. I just made use to them. So is that all of them lined up over there? He says, what are they doing? They're turned on. He says, yeah, I'm mining Bitcoin. What? You're doing what? He says, I'm mining Bitcoin. That's the first time I ever heard of it. And I was back in 2010, and Bitcoin was like pennies at the time. So I was like, oh, Bitcoin, it's just about monopoly money by nerds who live in their mom's basement playing World of Warcraft. That's what I thought it was at the beginning. But you need to understand the evolution of money if you're going to understand what crypto is, especially with Donald Trump making the statement. Yeah, it seems a lot of people are, buying Bitcoin, but I still trust only one currency, and that's the dollar. He's sticking to that. But you got to know the evolution of money. In the very early days, people exchanged value via a barter system of trading goods, followed by the development of commodity money, which is silver and gold coins, as they were easy to carry and divide and had a level of scarcity that provided value. With the rise of banking arose a debt-based system where we deposited gold with the banks, and they issued us a piece of paper representing how much gold we had with the bank. After all, it's much easier to carry around paper bills than a bag of gold. In 1971, President Nixon abolished the gold standard. How many of you even knew that? My brother, who is educated, he spent 1 year at Morehouse. And one thing about the AUC, Morehouse, you either love it or you hate it. I haven't found anybody that's been in between. And it's rarely I find somebody that hates it. But my brother, it wasn't an enjoyable experience for him. But you got to understand, we grew up like the Cosbys, though. We grew up in a community that was 99% did not look like us. When we went to school, we were always one or two of the only ones in our class. And when I went to Atlanta for the very first time, it was when I was going to Morehouse. Morehouse was not my first choice. I got a scholarship to UC Santa Barbara for track. I was the number 2 track star in the state of California back in 1994. And that's where I was going. Visited the campus, had my dorm picked out, and all that stuff. It was just far enough away from my parents, but not too far away. But my mom, how I ended up at Morehouse, when you do a college application, it's like the same thing. So she took one of my old applications and just applied it to Morehouse and sent it. And I got a late acceptance letter. And I didn't know anything about Morehouse. I kind of thought, was that like a different world? You guys ever saw that show, A Different World? Dwayne Wayne and Whitley and them? Or the movie School Days? I seen that. But I didn't really know much about HBCU or Morehouse. I think Martin Luther King went there or something. But my dad, when he saw that acceptance letter, I don't remember seeing my dad being so proud. I didn't fully understand it. And he was like, look, this is a great opportunity. Go there for 1 year. If you don't like it, you can always come back. All right. Because I never seen him so proud and happy before. So that was the first time I ever went to Atlanta. The first time I ever went west of Phoenix in Vegas was to go to college and got off that plane. I had never seen so many black people in my life. And yes, we came from Compton, California. I had never seen so many black people in my life, and that was a culture shock to me. I fell in love and loved it. My brother, on the other hand, he liked that experience, but it was a little overwhelming for him. And he came back home and graduated in California. Now he's a doctor. But when I was telling him about this Bitcoin stuff, and he was like, "Well, I don't know what crypto, what was that kryptonite?" And I was trying to explain it to him. He was like, "Yeah, but cash is king." He said that because it's back. He's like, "What is Bitcoin backed by? It's not backed by the government. Cash is king. I mean, cash is backed by gold." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Wait a minute. You were born in 1978. You have a college degree. You're an intellect. You know how to think. But it's never been on the gold standard in your entire life. We got off the gold standard in 1971. See, the problem with America right now is most people are working and slaving for this, and they don't even know what it is. All they see, 100. All they know is this is like Pavlov's dog. You ring the dinner bell, the dog knows it's dinner time. All people know is that this piece of paper allows me to buy groceries from the store and pay my bills. Have no understanding of what money actually is. This is not money. It's a representation of something. Money is energy. Money is resources that changes over time, that can never be destroyed, because as long as there's humanity, there's going to be something that has value and everybody's going to want it. So in 1971, President Nixon abolished the gold standard, enabling the ability for people to redeem US dollars for gold at the Federal Reserve, allowing the government full autonomy to freely print money, thus making the US dollar a fiat currency. And fiat is Latin for it shall be. Fiat currencies are now commonplace around the world and are not backed by tangible assets, only the promise from a government. Unfortunately, this led to currency manipulation and devaluation by governments to erode massive federal deficits at the expense of the consumer. The dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power since the mid-20th century as a result of inflation. This is why many financial planners stress investing in assets like stocks, gold, real estate, etc., rather than holding cash to preserve and grow wealth, given fiat loses its store of value over time. How many times do you go to the grocery store? $20, how much does that get you? What did it get you 20 years ago? What did it get you 40 years ago? It's important to understand that the US dollar is the best transactional currency in the world currently. So if you are stuck anywhere in the world, you always want to make sure you've got US dollars. It's going to be taken everywhere for now. But for the first time in history, or first time in the last 75 years, it is being challenged. The rest of the world is starting to say, you know what? Thank you, United States. You helped us after World War II, but we're ready to stand on our own 2 feet now and make our own decisions. And they're coming up with currency that's alternative to the US dollar. For a long time, gold has been considered the ultimate store of value. Now people are turning to cryptocurrencies as they are more secure, easier to store and transport, cheaper to use, and easier to subdivide than any asset known today. It is disrupting the international payments and transfers business by cutting out the exorbitant fees of banks, which is the middleman, the global remittance market, which is people working in one country and sending money back home to their families, as well as becoming the currency of the internet and fueling a new wave of global e-commerce. Do you know why some of the big countries allow immigration to happen the way they do? It's not a political thing. If you're in America, if you're on the right, if you're on the left, you both like illegal immigration for different reasons. But it is a boom to an economy as well, because most people that immigrate, whatever money that they make, a large portion of it they want to send back home to their families. And they've got to use the current financial system to do that. And the financial system charges fees. So not only is the system getting cheap labor, the system's also making money off of that cheap labor at the same time. But with crypto, you don't need the middleman anymore. See, the one thing about Bitcoin is that makes it so powerful is that one is permissionless. It's not controlled by a bank, a government, or an entity or a company. It's also universal in value. One Bitcoin in Japan is worth one Bitcoin in the United States. No matter where you are in the world, it's the same value. And it's borderless. You can send it anywhere in the world without permission. You don't need the banks to do it. And it happens in almost an instant with lower fees. That's the power of it. The basic concept of this is that cryptocurrency is roughly the equivalent of using PayPal or a debit card, except the numbers on the screen represent cryptocurrency instead of a fiat currency like a dollar. All you really need to do is set up an account with a crypto exchange service like Coinbase, use your fiat money from your bank, and purchase crypto. A lot of people don't get in crypto because they think it might be too complicated when they're already doing digital transactions right now. Most people don't walk around with cash. I only have cash when I'm using it for parking, for tips, and even then, parking now you can still use your card, put it into the machine. You don't need to put cash money in it. People have a online banking. They got their bank on their app on their phone. You go to China, they definitely have it. They haven't used cash in a decade. Their phone is their credit card. When they go to buy and pay for something, they just swipe their phone and scan it, and it's done. America's a little bit lag behind on that. So we're already doing this. To use cryptocurrency, you don't need to understand it any more than you need to understand the monetary system to use a credit card. However, if you want to understand crypto, you need to understand the concept of digital currency, the concept of blockchain, both a ledger of transactions and a technology, and the concept of cryptography. After all, cryptocurrency is a digital currency where transactions are recorded on a digital ledger called a blockchain, and every process along the way is secured by cryptography. So in simple terms, cryptocurrency works a lot like bank credit on a debit card. In both cases, a complex system that issues currency and records transactions and balances works behind the scenes to allow people to send and receive currency electronically. The main difference between cryptocurrency and bank credit is that instead of banks and governments issuing the currency and keeping ledgers, an algorithm does this for you. But is there interest in this? Yes, there's a tremendous interest in the crypto space right now, and equal parts confusion, uncertainty, and doubt. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, ICOs, smart contracts, DeFi, NFTs, and the metaverse. What does this even mean? You hear these all the time on the news, people talking about it at the water cooler, on social media, and you act like, yeah, you know what's going on when you really don't know what's going on because you're afraid to ask the question. The natural response to these foreign concepts is usually skepticism and rejection. But beneath the jargon lies a powerful new technology revamping our financial system, turning it upside down. Bitcoin started as an experiment in the depths of the financial crisis of 2008. You guys remember what happened in 2008? The greatest recession since the Great Depression. There's still people that haven't recovered from that. I was laid off my job in 2009 because of what happened in 2008, and it didn't even have any direct linkage to it. It was indirect. So Bitcoin was a response to that. We no longer could trust the system. The banks screwed us over. And then our government bailed the banks out with our taxpayer money. Remember, business is too big to fail. Did any of you get bailed out? But a real question is, should we have been bailed out? Because you fast forward and we saw what happened with COVID. The government did attempt to bail out the people who couldn't go to work. But there's a consequence to doing that. See, what the government did was they just printed more money and gave it away. That's what they did. What they should have done is basically lower cost of existing goods, increase our salaries, do the opposite. Instead, they just printed more money and flooded the market with more money. If you own gold, what happens when a new gold mine is found or a gold deposit? And they mine it, they mint it, and now it's on the market. Well, now that there's more gold on the market, the value of the gold you have goes down. So if you have $100 bill, the government decides to print $2 trillion more, and it floods in the market, and everybody runs to the store to buy flat screen TVs and whatnot. What happens to the value of the $100 you already had? It goes down. It's called inflation. So even that didn't really work. A new system needs to happen. Cryptocurrency has been described as the most disruptive technology since the internet. Stop right there. Okay. Most of us, I got to say most because I got to remember now that there are actually adults who were born after 2000. That's still mind boggling to me. I remember Y2K like it was yesterday, but there are adults walking around who can drink and drive and vote who are not alive in the last century. All they know is the internet. So I can't say that, but most of us, a lot of us, knew what life was like before the internet. And I think we all can tell now that we don't know, well, we know what to do, but the world will stop turning if you turn the internet off. Last night the Wi-Fi was messing up for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. My son comes out of his room. My wife is like, "What's going on?" They don't know what to do. My youngest son as well. What day was it? He messed up and he got punished, and I took his computer away for a couple of hours, and he didn't act like he didn't know what to do. I said, read a book, play games, do something fun. But the internet has taken over our lives. Knowing what we know now, going back to the 90s, do you think you might have been a little bit more conscious about investing in anything that had to do with the internet, knowing what you know now? Yeah, I wish I was a little older at that time. I was still a teenager at the beginning of the 90s. And I mean, I didn't turn 20 until 1996. I was still in college. I didn't know anything. But it took over the world. This blockchain technology is the internet, next evolution of the internet. It's going to be bigger than the internet. It's going to have a larger impact than the internet did. But we're all adults now. We can do something about it. Again, congratulations for even being here to hear this information, because you're putting yourself in position to do something about it. So cryptocurrency, though, by the powers that be, have described it as not only the most disruptive technology since the internet, but also it's a fraud. It's a massive Ponzi scheme. Elizabeth Warren says ISIS and Hamas and all the terrorists are using it. All the criminals are using it, which is not true. But when you don't understand something, you fear it and you demonize it. But when that happens, that means it's opportunity for those of us who really know the truth, because that means the masses have not come into this space yet. We're here first. We're first in line. So what is cryptocurrency? Well, cryptocurrency is a digital currency that doesn't rely on central banks or trusted third parties to verify transactions and create new currency units. So for the layman's term, I don't know, what does that mean? Well, when you go and you buy something, what's the proof that you bought something? It's a receipt. And who's keeping that ledger, that history? The banks do. And you're paying them to do so. It's a trusted third party. Instead, with crypto, it uses cryptography to confirm transactions on a publicly distributed ledger called a blockchain. And tomorrow night, we're going to go into detail about blockchain and the ledgers and what that all means. There are thousands of different cryptocurrencies in circulation, each with varying values. The first cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, was developed in 2009 by a programmer using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. In a 2008 white paper entitled A Peer-to-Peer Electronic Cash System, Nakamoto provides the first description of blockchain. Blockchain is the technology that enables cryptocurrency to work like government-issued fiat currencies without the involvement of any central bank or trusted third party. Transactions are sent between peers from cryptocurrency wallets by matching up public codes, which relate back to user-held private passwords, which is cryptographic keys. Transactions made between peers are recorded on a public ledger of transactions called a blockchain. All users of a given crypto have access to the ledger if they choose to download a full node wallet, as opposed to holding their coins in a third-party wallet like Coinbase. The transaction amounts are public, but who sent the transaction is encrypted. Each transaction leads back to a digital cryptocurrency wallet. Now, the first time my mom, because I've done all of my courses in a way that my mom can understand. So the first time I said that to her, she still was like, what? I said, think of it like this, Mom. You have an email address? Yeah. If you're going to send an email to somebody else, what do you need from them? I need their email address. Okay. So you get their email address. You go and you put whatever message you're going to send. You put in their email address and you hit send. What happens next? Well, they receive the email and they open it up and they read what I sent to them. That's Bitcoin. Same concept. If you won't have Bitcoin and you want to send it to someone else, what do you need from them? You need their address. Or like the mailbox. If you want to send mail to somebody, you need their home address. Where am I sending this to? So everybody will have wallets, and your wallet has an address tied to it. Only your name is not on this wallet. It's anonymous. It's just a wallet address, and you own the private keys, which means you're the only one who has access to your wallet. And you can send, and if you want to receive, you're going to give somebody else your wallet address. All they have is your address. They don't have access to your wallet, just your address. Just like somebody may have the address to your home, but they don't have the key to walk through your front door. They can send you mail and stuff, but they can't, go in your house, sit on your couch, eat your food in your refrigerator. That's Bitcoin. That's crypto. And every transaction is not secret. Every transaction is recorded publicly on the blockchain, so you can see every transaction that has ever happened. What you can't see is who's doing the transaction. But with this level of transparency, it never can be challenged. If you go to the store and you buy something, you go home and try it on and it doesn't fit, and you want to return it, what's the first thing that they ask you for? Where's your receipt? I need to see proof of purchase. I lost my receipt. But pull up the camera. You saw me here yesterday. Well, I can't go by that. I need the receipt. And only two people have the receipt. You and the merchant. So the merchant has their copy, and you have your copy. And then when you go into a dispute, what do you got to do? Get a lawyer, go to court. Now you're paying all those extra third-party fees, and entire industries have sprung up because of that. What if there's technology now that eliminates all of that? Because you can't lose the receipt because it's on the public record. It can't be changed. It can't be manipulated. It can't be hacked because you'd have to hack every single computer in the world. Bitcoin is freedom. Whoever owns the password to the wallet owns the amount of crypto denoted on the ledger. When someone sends or receives crypto, when they send from one wallet to another wallet using a set of private and public passwords, that transaction is queued up to be added to the ledger. Many transactions are added to a ledger at once. These blocks of transactions are added sequentially. That is why the ledger and the technology behind it is called blockchain. It is a chain of blocks of transactions. So what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is digital money that is not used or controlled by anyone. It is used to securely store and transfer any amount of value anywhere in the world. It is used to buy goods and services, store wealth, or send value to anyone without the permission of a third party. Often regarded as digital gold, Bitcoin that is stored properly cannot be hacked, stolen, or seized, thus giving people full proprietorship. much like having a Swiss bank account in their pocket. Unlike physical gold, Bitcoin is cheaper, faster, and more efficient to store or send anywhere in the world. Bitcoin is divisible to the eighth decimal place and is completely digital, allowing the transfer of any monetary value. Opposed to government fiat currencies, which can be manipulated and devalued, there is a finite supply of 21 million Bitcoins, making it a scarce and valuable asset. Bitcoin is the internet of money and will do for finance what the internet did for communication. Currently, there is almost 19 million Bitcoin in circulation. So again, what's the difference between Bitcoin and this? The government can print more money whenever they want to. Bitcoin, it will never go more than 21 million. There's more than 51 million millionaires and billionaires on the planet today. Every single one of them can afford to buy one whole Bitcoin right now without blinking an eye. But what happens if all of them attempt to do so at the same time? There's not enough Bitcoin to go around. And that scarcity means now they got to price it higher so they can get out of the price range of these millionaires and billionaires. It's like an auction. So how does it work? Well, the Bitcoin network is a peer-to-peer network that runs on a decentralized. What does that mean? It is not run or controlled by one entity. Facebook, that's centralized. Twitter, that's centralized. Elon Musk got so frustrated, so he bought the company so he could control the way what it does. That's centralized. Decentralized, no one controls it. Units of currency that run on the Bitcoin network are called Bitcoins, which are used to store and transmit value among network participants. Unlike most currencies issued by central banks, which can be devalued and manipulated, Bitcoins are issued according to a fixed set of rules to create sound money that can't be manipulated by a central authority or a malicious actor. Users can control or sell goods. Users can buy or sell goods and services, send money to people or organizations, or even extend credit in a fast, secure, and borderless manner. The only prerequisite for access to these coins is an internet connection and a private key that forms a pair of public-facing keys to provide access to the coins stored on the Bitcoin network. Unauthorized access to someone's private key is similar to stealing gold from their vault. What is Bitcoin's core value proposition? One of the first payments that people think about, or first things that people think about when they learn about Bitcoin, is payments. Every financial transaction we make, either with Venmo or our banks, has at least one intermediary that sits in the middle and takes a little cut. What if we could transact with one another in a peer-to-peer way without needing permission? All we need is an internet connection, and we could send money to anyone without anyone's permission in the same way that the internet allows us to send information. Philosophically, Bitcoin assures that the money you have earned is yours and enforces the idea that you can truly own your wealth. Payments and being a medium of exchange is an important part of Bitcoin's value proposition, but it's not the only part. Bitcoin is a highly censorship-resistant and permissionless store of value. Using the Swiss bank account analogy, there is about $20 trillion worth of wealth in the world stored in offshore bank accounts and shell companies by major companies and many individuals. Now, this is not illegal. Rather, it's used to lawfully shield all of your assets from creditors, taxation, legal jurisdictions, or even corruption. Bitcoin and other crypto assets fulfill this void and many others to a much greater extent as the first uncensorable and unseizable asset in history. The government can't garnish your Bitcoin. They can't take your Bitcoin unless you give them your private key. Even if they can grab your wallet, they can't access it unless your crypto is on a centralized exchange or they have your private key. So why should you own Bitcoin? Well, you may want to own some Bitcoin for the same reasons why you should invest in anything, to maintain or increase your standard of living over time. This is especially important in the face of inflationary pressures and the fact that fiat currencies are a terrible store of value. Owning Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency is a choice. That is why we are here to educate you so that you can make an informed decision. Everyone should build a diversified portfolio to secure their financial futures and enable them to achieve what they want most in life. Crypto assets could play an important role in that, as many believe Bitcoin and blockchain-based assets are one of the greatest technological innovations and will represent the greatest wealth creation event of our time. In 2009, let me say that one more time. This is representing the greatest wealth creation event. I need to change that, not just of our time, in history. And we happen to be alive at this point in history. You got to think about all your ancestors, everyone who's came before you. They've never had this opportunity that you have. You're responsible, your genetic line of taking advantage of the opportunities today to fulfill your future line going beyond. I'm a Morehouse man. We're very, very big on legacy. I'm very big on legacy. I'm already teaching my boys about that. In 2009, Bitcoin was worth less than 1 penny to the US dollar. Today, Bitcoin is worth, wow, actually, I got to change this, $57,000 a coin. It may be time that you make the choice now. At $57,000, you might still think that's too expensive. There's going to be a time in the future where you're going to say, I remember when Bitcoin was less than $50,000 a coin. It's going to come sooner than you think. As a disclaimer, this information is intended for educational and training purposes only and should not be construed as investment advice. As with all financial decisions, you should contact your licensed financial advisor before investing in any financial instrument. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of the actual lesson. But since this is Monday, I am going to leave the stream open, but only those of you who are VIP members will be able to ask questions. So I'm going to turn it on over to my executive assistant, Miss Marnita Casa. She's going to give you guys the instructions on what's going to happen next. And just so you know, tomorrow is going to be our day 2. We're going to talk about what is blockchain technology. And we have a special guest. Not only is he a Morehouse man, but he is a professor, current professor at Morehouse College. Professor Oscar Sistrunk will be up tomorrow night. So you'll be able to hear from him directly. He's very big on real estate, decentralized finance, and he's fixated on the whole Bitcoin halving thing, because he's also about legacy, and he's preparing for his grandchildren and their children beyond by the things that he does right now. So he'll be talking about that tomorrow evening. And we welcome everybody. Only though, I will not be doing this on the public Facebook groups. I still will be doing it publicly for free, but you've got to register. So if you're listening to me right now in any of the other Facebook groups outside of the 5-day challenge Facebook group, then you need to register. You go to ilcachallenge.com and register. There's no cost. Once you register, you'll receive an email with the link to the Facebook group that you can be invited to, and I'll be streaming in the Facebook group tomorrow. Again, that's no charge. You can still see it for free. Or you can become a VIP member from that same email. You'll have the opportunity to upgrade to VIP for a one-time cost of $97. And you have access for the rest of the year. So those are the options. So with that, let me turn it on over to Miss Marnita Casa.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, so you guys, we just have 3 things that we ask of you. The first thing is, please do not unmute your mic until you are called upon. The second is, we try to keep it to just 2 questions unless we have time for more. And the third one is there are no silly questions. So please, whatever questions you may have or aha moments, raise your hand and let us know. Okay, Miss Judy, I see your hand raised. The floor is all yours.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, you know what? I don't have a question. I just wanted to say bravo, Brandon. That was wonderful. Every time I attend these 5-day challenges, the information just seeps in deeper and deeper and deeper, and it just makes so much sense every time you say it. So that's just basically what I wanted to say. Back to
Hey,
you.
thank you for sharing. That's what I talk about. I don't care how many times you might have seen this. It always, sometimes you got to go back to the basics and you'll hear it and your spirit will say, yeah, I'm in the right place at the right time. I got to go to work. So thank you for sharing that, Judy.
Thank you, Miss Judy. Okay, Miss Patty, I see your hand. The floor is all yours.
Well, I'm second. I agree with what Judy's statement was. Okay, so Marnita, just remember what you said. There is no silly question. So this isn't a silly question, but for some, they may say it's a silly statement. But remember, this wasn't taught in school. So Brandon, I did not realize that that historical Black colleges were created because African Americans or people of color could not go to any other school. I did not know that.
That's right.
So
You know
it's
what
not
else,
taught in
though?
school. How would I know?
Here's
Right?
another myth. A lot of people believe that HBCU is only for Black students. And no,
No.
anybody can attend. My senior year, our valedictorian, meaning the person with the highest score, was a white guy. So no, anybody can, because my Morehouse brothers, it has nothing to do with skin color. Is anybody that's
Mm-hmm.
walked on our campus, but anybody can attend. But yeah, it's right. They were formed because we didn't have a choice, and Morehouse was formed in the basement of a church. And so the
Mm.
churches were the main source after slavery and going into sharecropping, indentured servitude. The only education that the kids could get was a Sunday. That's why it was always called Sunday school. And they started in the
Mm.
basement of a church in Georgia and grew from there. And Morehouse is named after a white man. It was a white man who created Morehouse College. A lot of people don't
Oh,
know that. There's only one
really?
university or college that was founded actually by African Americans, and that is Morris Brown in Atlanta, Georgia. All the others were not founded by African Americans. They were founded by whites who created institutions to help educate. And most of them came with the only education in the early days was farming. And Morehouse was for ministers, preachers, became preachers or a lawyer at Morehouse. That's how it
No
worked in the
idea.
early days. And Morehouse at that time, this is why we have the mystique we do, was one of the first. Remember, 1867 was when we were founded. And we were the leaders of our community. We were the educated ones. So we were the ones that became the bankers and the lawyers and the doctors. And so if you had a problem in the community, you either couldn't afford to go or you weren't allowed to go to the regular institutions that government had. The only place they can go was from our community. So yeah, you got an aha moment. You learned something new.
I did learn something new today. So my question was, okay, so I know the fact that there's only $21 million Bitcoins that will ever be produced. But you said that um, that's why they keep the price higher, making it harder to get. You made that statement.
Yeah, well, no, it's not that they make the price higher. It's the law of supply and demand. So as long as there's more demand than there is a supply, the price goes up. So
Okay.
even
I
with
was thinking
Bitcoin,
someone was manipulating it. I'm like, who's
no, well,
manipulating?
if you
It's done.
you can manipulate it if you know what to do. Like
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Dimon. in 2017, September, saying Bitcoin is a scam. It should be illegal. I'm going to fire anybody dealing with Bitcoin. And all the Bitcoin critics took what he said and said, see, even Jamie Dimon, a billionaire, is saying that this Bitcoin thing is a scam. Y'all are crazy for getting it. And there was a sell-off. And what did he do? 24 hours later, in the Swedish markets, not even in the American markets, he went in the Swedish markets and bought up most of the Bitcoin assets that he can get his hands on in a 24-hour period of time. And he bought the dip. It was so bad that the Swedish government sued him. He was found guilty and paid a fine, but he manipulated the market down. BlackRock, Larry Fink, was attempting to do the same thing. And you guys in Inner Circle saw me do it when we were doing trading on L Bank, and I found a coin. It didn't have that much liquidity, and my trades, I was the whale. So I figured out how to manipulate the price to be at a certain where I wanted it to be, and then I was trading in between that. So I knew there wasn't going to be any volatility higher or lower, but then you guys figured out what I was doing and was prices writing me, undercutting me. So, but
I believe BlackRock is helping it to increase now because it's showing the customers that, hey, yeah, we knew what we were doing when we decided to create this asset that you could partake in, and look how much money you've made.
That's right.
All right, thank you for that, and it was great class tonight. Excited for the rest of the week.
Thank you, Miss Patty. Those were great questions. And thank you, Mr. Ivy. I always love our history lessons. Okay, so I have a question, and it is a little off topic, but something in your lesson triggered this. Now, me and my mom were sitting here listening together, and she looked at me and she said, man, can you think about all the missing Bitcoin, right? Like the ones that people forgot. Okay, so it's got me to thinking, like, in reality, maybe 100 years from now, like the Bitcoin technology evolves, correct? And so the I'd say 12 seed phrase that you were able to lock up your Bitcoin with, let's say 15 years ago, 50 and 60 and 70 years from now, there'll be a new technology where they might be able to get those old passwords. So my question for you is, do you think that in the future, like let's say I forget my password, I got 100,000 Bitcoin on my computer, but I was messing around and forgot my password. Do you think in like 60, 70 years from now, there might be a technology where some of those old Bitcoin that people thought were lost might be able to be recovered?
All right. So now since we're talking about cryptography, the password's not the issue. Passwords can be broken. It's the seed phrases. And there's a reason why they have 12. Remember last year in Inner Circle, we were talking about when you create a password that you should have anywhere between at least 8 digits, all the way to best 12. And that even with quantum computing, it might take 40 years to crack that code. That's just with one password phrase. We're now talking about 12 words. So the technology would be quantum computing, but it would be almost impossible it would take, I think one of them showed it would take 2 centuries to be able to crack the 12-word seed phrase. So no. Yeah, unless there's computing power even beyond quantum computing, but then you'd have to be a little bit more specific. It would have to randomly just throw numbers out to see what wallets it can all of a sudden pop up if they get the right sequence and the right orders. But it is really kind of genius how it's done and secure. So no. The only thing that Bitcoin could do, and this is a possibility, and I have it in one of the lessons, that 21 million, the miners can actually vote and increase the amount past 21 million. It's just the majority of them would never do that, because to do that, they now decrease the value of the Bitcoin they are sitting on. So the same people, it's like you voting on getting getting a pay cut. Would you vote yes for that? 9 times 10 people, no, I'm not voting to get a pay cut, but that is possible. So it is possible in the future. I still say when all 21 million is gone, and it's not going to happen until 2140, when the last Bitcoin will be mined at this current rate, that there's still only going to be between 8 to 9 million Bitcoin actually in circulation. The rest is gone to time and history.
Okay, thank you so much. So that means they're not just lost, they are lost. Okay, so that was the question. Okay, Miss Demetrius Turner, I see your hand raised. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and good evening to everyone. I just wanted to say that, Brandon, like you said, every time we get on crypto, it's always something that we can learn. I like it when things are very clear. And like you said, when you talk with your mother, because I'm probably your mom's age as well. And so when you make it clear and you talked about Bitcoin and you talked about, the email and you show the association between the emails and Bitcoin, I thought that was amazing. Also, I like it when in the group Herschel teaches very well as well. He makes it very plain. I love that about the group. I also enjoy the clarity that you give us, even when I get a chance to get on the crypto talk. I mean, so many amazing things about the group, but when we get on the crypto talk, and I said, there go Brandon again. He making it plain, and not only that, it's come to pass. He didn't told us this, and here it goes again. I'm just going like, wait a minute, I've got to get this together. I've got to get more involved. I'm working most of the time, but I do get a chance to hop on. I did buy Singular, I think it was, at one token. I just didn't say nothing. I was at work. I'm just kind of learning a little bit more this year, getting more involved this year instead of just watching, because I have been watching, but paying attention and taking really good notes and going back into review. So I would say to people, if anybody really wants to get in here and learn what's in this in crypto, it'd be an amazing opportunity to do that and to learn. And the group is amazing. The questions are great. The people always have information to share. I mean, I could go on and on, but I won't take up a lot of time. But thank you so much to everybody that participate. I know Patty has a lot of questions. I learned from her and Judy, and I could just go on and on. And Marnita with her energy and smile, and it's just a lot. So thank you, Brandon, for doing this. I love it. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for still showing up every time we got it going on. So much appreciated.
Thank you, Demetrius. That was beautiful. Okay, I see you, Miss Judy, but if you don't mind just waiting one moment, I'm gonna let Mr. Long go because he hasn't asked a question yet this evening. So, Mr. Leonard Long, the floor is yours.
So my question is, we're talking about Bitcoin here. And recently in the media, we've heard a lot about BlackRock and some other people creating ETFs. What is the difference between Bitcoin and Bitcoin ETF?
Okay, great question. All right, so Bitcoin is where if you want to trade or buy Bitcoin right now, every individual has the ability to actually go to an exchange and purchase it. So you are in possession of that Bitcoin. Problem is that can be a little scary for a lot of people because there are hackers out there that want to take your Bitcoin. It requires you to know how to store your Bitcoin, how to move your Bitcoin, how to view your Bitcoin. So for a beginner, that could be a little bit intimidating, especially in a volatile market. So what the BlackRock has done, said we want to open this up to institutional investors, people that might be a little bit too afraid to actually purchase the Bitcoin directly themselves, but they see the value in it, that this thing has gone, it's the best performing asset of the past decade. So they want to be able to not just bet on it, but invest in and out with it without having to take ownership or possession of it. So BlackRock says we're going to create an ETF, an exchange traded fund, where we, meaning BlackRock, will be in actual possession of the asset. And we're going to allow the public to come in and purchase positions of the asset we hold so that if the value of it goes up, they can make a profit, but they're paying us a fee for this. So they're never actually owning or taking possession of the asset, but they're able to ride the value of it up or down because BlackRock is taking all of that risk. So now that they can come into this space and not worried about getting hacked, not worried about their Bitcoin getting stolen, and they can invest in an asset class that can move up or it can move down, and they can play in that safety like a sandbox. BlackRock, though, this is why they're worth $10 trillion of management. Since they're the ones taking the risk, you're paying extra for them to do so. So what are they doing still right now? Buying up as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. So imagine this. They buy $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. They open up the ETFs for their investors to come in and play in their sandbox. Bitcoin then goes all the way to what, 200,000 a coin, 300,000 a coin. BlackRock's $2 billion is now worth 7 to 8 billion. They never sold. No matter how much of the people inside the business is going in and out doing transactions, BlackRock is always in possession of the Bitcoin at the end of the day. And that's how they get so wealthy. So it's a safe place for investors who want to be able to invest in the topic of Bitcoin, but not have to carry the risk of actually owning the asset class itself. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. And one last thing, this is just a challenge to everybody who's listening. If you open up your phone and open up Google Maps or your Apple Maps or whatever it is, and type in Bitcoin ATM near me, you'll actually be shocked at how many are around you. I have currently 25 around me. And if you don't think you can't sell it, you can walk into any one of those ATM machines and exchange it for money.
Nice,
So
nice.
it's tradable.
Thank you, Leonard.
That's
Bravo,
it.
Mr. Long. That was a fantastic question. Thank you so much. Okay, Miss Judy, thank you so much for your patience. The floor is all yours.
Not a problem. I just wanted to comment to Patty, because of that saying there are no stupid questions. And I just want to thank Patty because, I too previously did not know about historically Black colleges and universities. I grew up in Canada, and we don't have that. And it wasn't until it was 95. I was visiting my cousin in New York, and I know this, you guys are all Morehouse alumni. He's a Howard man, but I had I had asked him, I said, well, David, like how did these, HBCU start? And that's when he explained to me how, how they started and why. And I did not know that myself. And I was kind of a little embarrassed to have not known that. But then, I'm in Canada. But then there's so many things in that they really don't teach us the true history in school. And some of the things they teach us are not exactly accurate. So sometimes, we've got to take the bull by the horns and educate ourselves. So that's what I wanted to add. And as for the ETFs, I remember the other day when Brandon was discussing them in Inner Circle, and I had that aha moment, realizing that because BlackRock is in possession of the Bitcoin at all times, it made me realize, oh my goodness, these guys want to corner the market. They're going to own all the Bitcoin. We have to get in there and get it before they do and hang on to it regardless of the swings and the dips and I had an epiphany the other day when it comes to roller coasters. Those seat belts and cage bars on roller coasters? I always thought that was to keep the riders from falling out of the roller coaster. And I realized, no, it's to keep the riders from leaping out of the roller coaster, face first after that first dip. But inevitably, it goes back up again. So you just got to enjoy the ride. So that's just what I wanted to add.
All right. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Miss Judy. Okay, so Miss Patty, I see your hand. I do see that we have Miss Lanu and Miss Sue waiting. Do you mind giving us just one moment? We'll let them ask their first question. Thank you, sweetheart. Okay, Queen Lanu, I see your hand is raised. The floor is all yours.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say, first of all, Marnita, you look absolutely stunning. Just so gorgeous. I was like, oh, look at her. She is just so beautiful. And Brandon, I just get so excited every People's Money challenge you have. I learn more each and every time. And I just like, I get so excited because not only do I know you're passionate, but it's an absolute public service what you do. Because, we're at a pivotal time in history where we get to take part in something huge that's actually happening in our time. So thank you for pouring into all of us and sharing because I'm truly grateful. And so my question for you, Brandon, because I'm super excited that a lot of the main topic tonight are the ETFs, and I was wondering about that because like the ETF approval last month, it's big news. It's wonderful. It's great because then the masses are going to start opening their minds some more to like, oh, okay. Or like how you mentioned earlier with your dad, like, oh, did you hear? Like even Donald Trump mentioned. But then at the same time, for me, it's like, we already knew what decentralization was going to do for the masses and the true freedom and sovereignty that it will bring each individual. And so for me, when I heard about the ETFs, it's like, yeah, that's cool, but at the same time, it honestly makes me mad. It's like it's super frustrating. Like Judy just mentioned, like, oh yeah, well, they're going to own the asset the entire time. And it's supposed to feel like a safer environment, right? As you mentioned, because they're taking all the risk, but then that defeats the whole purpose of why the blockchain was created. That defeats the purpose of why Bitcoin was created. Decentralization for each individual to truly experience freedom. So if all the institutions own it, then it's going to put us right back at square one, right? Like, so what I was wondering, are you encouraging investors at this time, even more so than before, to dollar cost average Bitcoin as much as they can, especially because of the ETFs?
Yes.
So, yeah.
We are in a
So that,
modern day gold rush. And for those of you who are brand new, Lanu was actually one of our panelists last month. So if you become a VIP member, you can see that recording from last month. But yes, this is the modern day gold rush. Everybody is marching out west trying to stake their claim in the ground to get as much gold as they can. And we need to get our piece. We can't stop an organization like BlackRock, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, these giants from buying up as much Bitcoin as they want, because then they're going to be able to corner the market on that. But we can get as many as we can get right now. So I don't look at it as a bad thing. I mean, the wealthy are going to do what the wealthy have always done since the beginning of time. Only this time we can also play and get our piece.
yes,
But the good
yes.
thing though is with their involvement now, it's going to force regulation to be on our side. It's going to force the governments and to open up and allow innovation, allow us to start our businesses in crypto, allow us to be able to maneuver in this space without fear of prosecution and getting shut down and being told we're criminals, because now the big boys are playing in the space. So yeah, there's always a give and take. So
I
now that
hear you. So
we had to,
there's never ever bad publicity, as they say,
no,
right?
oh no, no, all publicity is good publicity. But like you said, we had a chance to get in here before they did. So
Right. You're,
now,
yes, yes.
what are we doing with this time? We still have a window of opportunity, and I'll say
Agreed.
here, we've got
I'm sorry. And I think that's where my
right here.
passion is coming from. It's just like everyone should know. So thank you for everything that you do. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. But we only got a short window of time to claim our stake. So thank you for sharing that, Lanu.
Miss Lanu, I promise you are a leader. I was so excited about the ETFs and what it could do. I didn't look at it through that perspective. Right now, it's actually a red flag for us retail investors to really start making the move to start eating up as much Bitcoin as possible, because now people that don't care about money can get in there and buy up as much as they want with no risk. So thank you so much for bringing up that point. Okay, Miss Sue Williams, the floor is all yours.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Brandon.
Hey, Sue.
Um, I want to thank Patty and Leonard both for their questions tonight. It was excellent. And then I also want to reflect on what Doreen said about every time we hear this, it um, it just solidifies it. And the community is awesome, and I'm just really grateful to be here. I do have a question that's kind of off topic, though. In the last couple of weeks, you've been talking about trading. And so usually you refer to, oh my gosh, what is the trading site that you usually use?
In our inner circle, we've been using Bitforex.
Okay, what's the other one? I'm
And
sorry,
there's
I'm having a senior moment.
Bitforex, Binance, and LBank.
Okay, LBank. So LBank isn't available to us anymore. Is that correct? In the United
Correct.
States?
Technically, yes. It's not for U.S. citizens. That's why we switched to Bitforex.
Okay. What exchange besides that would be your next choice to trade on?
Binance.us, because that's a US based exchange. So if not Bitforex, Binance US. If not Binance US, and some people based on where you live, Texas and New York, you can't even access Binance. Then the safest after that will be Coinbase. And I don't like Coinbase because of their fees, but they are the most regulated and compliant in the United States. So Coinbase Pro will be the next one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for a great lesson tonight. And thanks to everyone for their questions.
No problem, Sue. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Sue. Okay, Miss Patty, thank you so much for your patience. The floor is all yours, sweetheart.
Oh, you're so welcome. I just hope I can get it out the way I have it in my brain. Okay, so I have a statement and a question. So the statement is with BlackRock, because they're participating in crypto with ETFs, but the thing about it is nothing that they do are on the blockchain. So that kind of goes back to what Lanu says about defeating the purpose. In addition, I used to work for the Chicago Mercantile. And so that was futures trading. It wasn't like when a customer was buying and selling pork bellies that it was a physical buying and selling of a pork belly. So BlackRock could technically own 500 Bitcoin, but they could trade as if they owned 700 Bitcoin because they can manipulate it somehow the same way I would think as the commodities future trading does for the Chicago Board of Trade or the Mercantile. So that was my statement. Now, my question is with BlackRock and what they're doing as far as an ETF is concerned, they are, I would imagine that not only are they buying Bitcoin, but they're also participating in trading to increase the value of the assets that they already have.
Oh, most
and
definitely.
in doing so, how is that different from some of the projects that some of us in the community or outside of the community participate in when it's Forex?
Good question. Okay, so one, to operate in the United States, they have to get approval from the SEC. A lot of the Forex companies trying to operate in the United States are not getting approval from the SEC. So just by that definition, they're operating illegally. And which is why a lot of them try to go overseas, or if they're ever caught, there's got to be something called like recourse. If a customer is not pleased with something, there's got to be a mechanism in place that they can get their funds back. They can sue somebody, and somebody's being held accountable for that. So with BlackRock, the whole point of them being approved by the SEC now means they're beholden to the SEC's like terms and conditions, the laws. They're even though internally, let's say they only own 500 Bitcoin, but they also want to act like they're going to trade on 700 internally. There's mechanism in place that they can't because they have to report their books. And the SEC is able to look at every single trade, and they've got to have enough money on the back end to be able to pay every investor if every single one decides to pull their money out at the same time. With the Forex ones, they don't, those mechanisms aren't in place. Could it be? Yes. If the SEC, and the SEC has things in place for that, but a lot of these companies don't want to go through that process because it's very, very expensive. A company like BlackRock can afford that. Let's say a Forex company says, yeah, I want to have $5 million available for the team. Then the SEC is going to say, do you have $5 million worth of assets that we can seize if we need to? Most of the companies are going to say, no, we're not there yet. We will. They said, well, no, you can't do. You're operating illegally, because if the market turns around and goes down, then you can run off and the investors can never get the funds. And you aren't registered with us. You can register with us, but you're probably going to need $10 million if you're asking for 5 under management. So a lot of it is just outpriced. And I think that a lot of the rules do need to be changed, but it also is in place to protect the investors as well for that. And BlackRock can afford to do it. Now, so not everybody can do a Bitcoin ETF, but Fidelity, New York Stock Exchange, Kathy Wood's company, Franklin Templeton, they've got the funds and the assets to back up what they want to do. And then well, you said something else, because I said, I know they're doing this. So let's say they buy 500 Bitcoin, and that's what they're offering to their investors. Let's say they're offering 400 Bitcoin or 300 Bitcoin. They're doing their own inner trading to increase their number of Bitcoin on the back end, because they're always in possession of it. But yeah, that's a good question.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you so much, Miss Patty. And I just have to say, this has been a very, very powerful session. This is one of our first lessons, and the questions that were coming out of this lesson just shows our maturity and our growth. So bravo to everybody here. Okay, is there anyone else that has another question or an aha moment?
I will answer one question from the Facebook group.
Yes.
From Tomka asks, if one Bitcoin is $57,000, how many Bitcoins do you get for $200? Okay, so one thing that everybody is going to have to learn is how, when we were in elementary school, we learned how to do coins, a dime, a nickel, a penny, and a quarter, and how to add up, and what 4 quarters equal $1 or 10 dimes equal $1. We learned that stuff. We got to do the same thing when it's going to come to Bitcoin. You're going to hear more of the word Satoshi more than Bitcoin in the future. And it's divisible to 8 decimal points, which means it can cover every single dollar in the world can be put into those conversions. So you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. A lot of people think, wow, it's too expensive now at $57,000. I guess I can't participate. You can buy $5 worth of a Bitcoin, $200 worth of a Bitcoin, $2,000 worth of a Bitcoin. And if there's conversion charts, there's an app I use called Crypto Calculator. And you can go to any app store and type in crypto conversion, and you put in, if I want $200 worth, how much Satoshis is that going to give me? Oh, Leonard just did it right there. $200 is worth 0.003538 Bitcoins. In the future, it's going to be more like 0.000004 is going to be $200 in the future. So yes, you can always buy a piece of a Bitcoin, and you don't have to buy a whole one, and just download an app on your phone to be able to get that Bitcoin conversion. All right, back to you, Marnita.
Okay, well, it looks like we are all done. So actually, back to you, Mr. Ivey.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for participating tonight. I love doing these things. Even though I wrote the course, every time I do it, it always puts me in a good mood, and it feels good afterwards. And I love to teach and share. And thank you guys for showing up and listening. So we will be back tomorrow night. We're going to be covering what is the blockchain. in more detail. And we have Professor Oscar Sistrunk will be with us tomorrow night. And again, for those of you on Facebook, if you want to be able to be a part of this, you've got to register ilcachallenge.com so that you can be in the Facebook private group that we have. But at the end of the lesson, I stop the live stream. The Q&A session is only for those who are VIP members. And why? Well, I got to feed myself and my family. I wish I could do this for free 24/7, but I got bills I have to pay as well. And so, and just so you guys know, my time is about $250 an hour. So we're giving you guys all of this content, and education is priceless. This information is priceless. So with that, take care. We will see you all tomorrow. Those of you that are in our inner circle, we'll see you on Crypto Talk for tomorrow morning. Bitcoin Brandon out. Thank you, Ms. Casa, for hosting, and all of you that asked all the questions. Much appreciated. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye.